It's Monday, May 13th. It's another Starmancer patch day. By the way, we moved patches from Friday to Monday so that we don't have to fix last-minute issues on the weekend, and so that we don't have to respond to bug reports and issues that crop up either on the weekends. So it just kind of helps us out a little bit. So going forward, patches are going to come out on Mondays instead of Fridays. Okay. Second, whenever you get a patch, you should not use your old saves, and you definitely shouldn't use your old saves if there was some kind of bug when you save the game, because then when you load, it's probably still going to be broken, unfortunately. One day, you'll be able to use your old saves. And you probably could in general. I would just recommend using brand new saves. Alright, so what do we do? I changed how shelves work, and this is kind of interesting, maybe, to somebody. So if it's not interesting to you, oh well. You're going to listen to it anyway, I hope. So the way that item queues work, and is, I don't know, maybe actually not interesting, but it's just kind of the way it sort of has to work, is let's assume you have this little mining drone here, and the shelf, and this mining drone, he says, hey, I want 1 fuel. And then he has to look through all of the existing containers and find somebody who has fuel. But it's not quite that simple, because if you were to look through literally every single shelf, the performance would be quite poor. But also, it's not enough to look at the shelves, right? So it's not enough to look at the shelves and say, hey, do you have fuel, right? Because you also have to check, hey, why do I keep saying hey? But you also have to check if a colonist can walk between the shelf and the ore refinery, or in the mining probe. Because if the colonist can't, then we should just ignore this guy. So there's that. Second, it's possible that 2 things want the same resource at the exact same time. So let's say there's 2 mining probes, and they all want fuel. So this guy wants fuel and this guy wants fuel. Now obviously it would be madness if this guy requested the 1 fuel and this guy also requested that 1 fuel, and then a colonist would walk up, try to pick up this fuel, and he would successfully deliver it, and then another colonist would try to pick up this fuel that no longer exists, and everybody would be sad, whatever. So there's some sort of queue system where, you know, one guy says, I want fuel, and then some other shelf says, hey, well, I got fuel. And then once someone sort of says, okay, I'm going to make a ticket, like a job request, to go from here, the shelf, to the probe dock, he removes that fuel from the shelf sort of internally, and then also he adjusts the internal requests of the fuel. So he adjusts the input request on the fuel and the output request on the shelf. Okay, so that's the thing. Fine. Now, separately, there's other times that a colonist might want to take something off of a shelf. So let's say if there's food on a shelf. So if there's food on a shelf, like wheat, wheat can be used for at least 2 reasons. One reason is a colonist is hungry, and he wants to pick up raw wheat, and he wants to nibble on it and eat it, right? And the second is that a food recycler might want some wheat here, right? So let's say there's 1 wheat on the shelf. Okay, fine. Now, when a colonist picks up that wheat, this little colonist guy, so I'm not going to spawn him yet, actually. When he picks up the wheat, he has to somehow reserve that he has taken the wheat, because if he doesn't, then if there were 2 colonists who were trying to get wheat, they would both take the same wheat, and that would be bad. Or a colonist, one eater would take the wheat, and then a laborer would think that that wheat was still there, and he'd pick it up and he'd drop it off at this food recycler. Anyway, so I fixed those. I made some of those things sort of standardized, if you care. And so that's what happens now. So now when a colonist picks up food off of a shelf, and also I guess when they deliver food, it should correctly like say, hey, I have this much left, or I want this much remaining. Okay, so that's the thing. Now let's see what else. Oh, I added a bunch of memories to different things. So internally, we have, let's see, morale, and then we also have memories and sort of thought bubbles too. And they're actually all the exact same thing. So a thought is the exact same as a memory, and memories can have morale modifiers. And I'll show you what I mean. So I'll spawn this colonist, whatever her name is, Cora Yoder, and I'm going to assign a job to her, and when I do, she's going to get a memory, and you'll see a thought bubble pop up. So I'm going to make her a laborer, and the thought bubble pops up, and it says O2 because Victor still has to make a bunch of, he has to make some new art assets to make all the different sort of thoughts that we have. So for now, you're going to see things like O2 pop up. But anyway, so I gave him a job, and I gave him a memory. I have a job, and that makes me feel good about myself, and it also gives him a morale modifier of +5. And those are kind of neat because the way it works is depending on the thing that happens, we can assign different memories to colonists. So this is actually kind of a poor example, because a better example would be something you can use. But internally, I can create memories for whatever reason. And memories, just like colonists and floors and shelves, are agents. They're essentially game objects, but we can't call them game objects because Unity uses the term game object. But they're essentially game objects, and they have all the same. They have components on them. They do a bunch of all sorts of crazy stuff. And actually, if I were to find the job or the memory for job, like memory, single. Memory has single job agent variant. It's got a bunch of components on it. Like, for instance, it displays this thought bubble, or it controls the thought bubble that's displayed. It has a morale modifier, and it's secondhand learnable, and it controls, what it means to talk about it and that sort of thing. And this applies to all of them. So memories can be pretty complex, which is, I think, nice. They can also be forgettable and that sort of thing. And also I implemented a system this week where colonists could be assigned memories when they use objects. And this might happen if a colonist were to, let's say, pee on the floor. So let me find this colonist here. Once his bathroom need gets low enough, I'm looking for a floor generic entity here, and it's got a bathroom toilet here. So now you're kind of seeing a bunch of stuff, but when a colonist uses a floor for purpose of urinating, it gives them the memory peed on the floor variant. And that also, just like the other memory, has a bunch of stuff on it. It's forgettable and that sort of thing. And I'll show you eventually if this guy will pee on the floor. Once this goes down, then he's going to pee on the floor. He's going to get a memory about peeing on the floor eventually. Right there. And you kind of didn't see it, but right there for a second, he thought about peeing on the floor or whatever, and then I peed on the floor. So now they have memories and stuff like that. In terms of morale, I think right now, I think that if the morale's negative, the colonist won't work, or something like that. I don't know the exact values, and I haven't balanced them, nor have I really cared to. But eventually, what will happen is colonists won't work if the morale's low, and if the morale gets low enough, they'll do something bad. Maybe they'll attack other colonists, they'll eat extra food, they'll do whatever other things, open up doors to space, whatever colonists do for shenanigans. Okay, and then the last thing I did that's sort of interesting is I added way more Freetime uses for objects. So I'm going to find a biotank. So let me find this biotank here, and eventually a colonist will use this for Freetime. I mean, actually, whenever they go to any of these floors, they're doing a Freetime activity, and when you use a floor for Freetime, all the colonists, he just walks to it, and he, in quotes, uses it. And then there's like a use duration and stuff. And then while I'm waiting for him to do it, I'll go to the biotank. Is he going to use it? Maybe. Go for it, guy. Aw, he broke my heart. Okay, so biotank entity. Here, if we're to find using for Freetime, here, it has like a duration, last 5 minutes, and also creates a thought bubble when they use it. And there's a bunch of things that we can do. We can make a colonist mount it, like for a bed. We can give them memories. We can play animations in either the colonist or the other object. We can spawn thought bubbles. And we can do really pretty much whatever we want. And then eventually this colonist will maybe use it. What I can do is I can trap him. That's what I'll do. I'm going to trap him. I'm just going to trap him with it. So like he has to use it. It's like he has no choice. Oh, you little bastard. Did you see that? I mean, you not a bastard, but little punk. I think what happened there is he'd already generated the route. Go, colonist, go. Did I block it? That'd be funny. He peed on a floor. Come on, colonist, you're embarrassing me. See, the thing is, all these objects, they're just randomized. And so he has a random chance of using a floor, he has a random chance of using, this thing, he has a random chance of using everything. Eventually, he might, maybe, just maybe, he'll decide that he wants to use floor. You know what I'll do? Fine. I'll just spawn like 3 colonists. And one of them, eventually, is going to use that floor. Or use this thing. Oh, I think she's using it. Maybe. Maybe. Yeah, there we go. Okay, cool. So she's actually using it. And we didn't have a lot of thought bubbles, so I made them think of food because it's sort of funny. It's like they're thinking about eating that colonist or whatever. And you can see here, thought bubble hungry variant. So it sort of shows that, yes, wow, the colonist is actually using it. And that's that. And then if we wanted to, you could give the colonist a memory when they use it for free time. I don't know what that memory would be, but we could do that. We could give them a modifier. So you do all sorts of stuff like that. So that is primarily what we did. There's also some other stuff too. You can read the patch notes, but I'm going to stop basically reading off the list of patch notes because that's boring. You can read that yourselves. You don't need me to do that for you. And instead, I'll just sort of talk about the exciting things because that's more fun for me anyway. Okay, cool. So that was the patch. And hopefully you're like, wow, I love it. It's great. Thanks. And if not, well, I guess that's okay too. All right. Thanks for watching. And I'll see you in Discord and all that other stuff. And bye-bye.